This is truly one of our favorite events of the year because of the folks we get to recognize. And to introduce our honorees, I have the pleasure of introducing Randy Smith. Most of you know Randy, but you may not know that he was one of the early founders of the foundation. He serves on the school board and was recently installed as the president of the statewide organization of school boards. So he's invested himself in the school district, much as all the people we're honoring here have invested themselves in their own success and the success of others. So please join me in welcoming Randy Smith, who will lead us through the program.
Good afternoon, and I want to add my welcome to everybody. You know, we all know that Forest Hills is a great school district, and we have great kids, but it's not very often that we get to see what our students accomplish. And so that's why this is really a great opportunity to celebrate some of the successes of our Forest Hills graduates. To get started, I wanted to quickly thank our distinguished alumni committee. And I know some of the people couldn't be here, but if you're here, please stand up so we can recognize you. Jenny Gavin, Eric Miller, Megan Ostenbeck, Diana Carter, Monica McGrew, and Kane Turner. If you could stand up, let's give these folks a round of applause. Left out Andy Wolf. Where's Andy? There he is. Okay. Sorry, Andy. Now I also want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors. These events would really not be possible if we didn't have terrific sponsors that help support us. Mercy Health, actually they're on the back of your program and on our poster up here, but Mercy Health, Brandy Corp, Buckeye Running Company, Park National Bank, Trophy Awards, and Corbett Graphics. And they support us, so if you're able to, I would ask that you consider supporting them. I also want to take just a moment and thank and recognize the members of the Forest Hills Foundation for Education. I know you're all trying to eat, but I'm going to ask if the members of the Forest Hills Foundation for Education could please stand up. I'd like to recognize all those folks. I know you're trying to eat, but please stand. Come on, don't be bashful. Thank you. Also, a quick thank you, a special thank you to Dee Stone, our executive director who does marvelous work. And also, not only that, but she is an elected official, she is also trustee for Anderson Township. So Dee, thank you for everything you do. We have two other folks that are with us that are elected officials, and we always like to recognize our Board of Education members, Elizabeth Barber and Dee Dee Choice. Elizabeth is here and Dee Dee is over there. Thank you for being here. Last but not least, I want to recognize our administrators who took time to be with us today. Scott Prebles, our superintendent, over here. Assistant Superintendent Mike Broadwater, also over here. Rob Fellows, principal at Anderson High School. And Dave Spencer, principal at Turpin High School. One other group I wanted to mention was we have some of our previous honorees who are here. I saw at least two. I thought I saw Mike Hall and Mike Brandy. If you're here, could you please stand up? We'd like to recognize you. If there's anybody else, please stand. Okay. Please continue to eat, but we're going to go ahead and get our program started so that we can get people out of here on time, and we still want to make sure we get to hear from all of our honorees. We're going to start off with Dennis Wildman Walker. Dennis attended Immaculate Heart of Mary Elementary School and then attended Anderson Senior High School, graduating in 1969. And we were talking before the program started, and Dennis just grew up right down the street from me. So he's a couple years older than me, so he was ahead of me at Anderson. After Anderson High School, he attended broadcasting school in Columbus. Following broadcasting school, Dennis worked in retail from 1970 to 1983. Here's the fun part. Being a very outspoken fan of Pete Rose, sometime in 1983, Dennis worked his way onto the WEBN Dawn Patrol with Eddie Fingers and Robin Wood. Okay, for all you people who are from Cincinnati, how many remember the Dawn Patrol? Okay, There we go. I think that's about the time he became the Wild Man. Wild Man Walker stayed with the Dawn Patrol for 27 years until 2011, and I don't see how you made it without getting fired all that time. But anyway,
I got some stories there.
his position as sports commando led to the public announcer gig for the Cincinnati Cyclones hockey team, where he worked for 20 years. Since 2013, he's worked for Class X Radio 88.9, where his daily sports show includes some classic rock and keeps him involved in the two things he loves, sports and rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anderson alumnus Dennis Wildman Walker. He keeps going out.
That was good. Okay. Well, they can hear me without that mic, I'm sure. That's never been a problem. Well, I've been saving up this line for about 3 weeks. If only Charles Brown, Ed Hoffer, and Roger Grooms could see me now. Wow. Charles Brown was my history teacher. He used to say, Mr. Walker, you want to put that sporting news away and pay attention? But I got A's in his class. Of course, Ed Hoffer was my English teacher and baseball coach. And then Roger Grooms was my speech teacher in my senior year. And today was ironic because I went to the same room where I had my speech class, sat right on the same stage where I gave my exam for speech, and Roger Grooms gave me an A. And my main speech was on the Super Bowl champion Jets, who won Super Bowl III, and Joe Namath. And I guess the radio was already in my blood because I had this taped interview with Joe Namath that I taped off television, and I played that as part of the speech involving the New York Jets winning the Super Bowl, because obviously when the Jets won it, that's when the NFL and the AFL merged right after that. So I want to acknowledge a few people here that have come out to be part of this, and I really appreciate it. Number one is some of the ladies that I went to school with and I've known forever. One of them is Pam Siedentoff. Pam, you want to stand up? I've known Pam since the 4th grade at Immaculate Heart of Mary. Of course, Barb Fritz. Barb, we go back to Anderson High School, and then Claudia, she went to Anderson also. My sister Sharon, who went to Anderson. Sharon, she's a graduate of 75. And my good friend Brian Phelps right here, he's the athletic director at Seven Hills School, which I currently work for. I do the PA for basketball, soccer, and lacrosse. So I can't get it out of my blood. It's just there, and I really enjoy doing it. I don't know what else to say. My son couldn't make it today. He's now got a real good job. He's now got a real good job selling Harley Davidsons. And when then people come in to buy motorcycles, they usually have money. And today, 2 people quit, so he got called into work. So he was bummed out that he couldn't be here. But he keeps telling me, Dad, don't get the big head. Don't get the big head. Which, I'm sure he'd be saying that right now. But this is a great honor. I mean, who would have thought, what is it now, going almost 49 years ago when I graduated in 1969. And I was going to bring my diploma in here to prove to some of you people I did graduate from Anderson, but it's out in my car. But I showed it to the students today. Willie Cunningham likes to keep saying I got a GED. No, I got a diploma. June 3rd, 1969. And it's ironic when you, but it's ironic that 1969 was Pete Rose's greatest year in baseball. If you look it up, that was his greatest year. Over 200 hits, 16 home runs, 82 RBI, and hit 348. That was the highest he ever hit, and he won the batting title back-to-back. So that was his greatest year. So it's just ironic. Those numbers of me and Pete Rose, it's weird, but that's just the way that's the way it works out. I want to thank Dee Stone for hooking me up here and giving me all the directions and kind of rewriting my little script. That script only took me like 5 minutes, and then she kind of made it sound a little bit better. So I was happy the way it turned out. And I met the new principal at Anderson High School today, Rob Fellows, who gave me my workout walking around the school today to see the new Anderson High School. They have joined the 21st century, folks. They're going to have air conditioning in that school. Air conditioning. I cannot tell you how hot it was in 1969 in the gymnasium when we graduated. Oh my God. Everybody lost 20 pounds. But the school's going to really be nice when they get it done. When it gets done and you get the wall down, I definitely want to come out. Do you guys still have hamburger day at Anderson? Every day. You have every day. Because it was usually on Tuesdays or Wednesday. What day was that, Sharon? Because that was the one day I would get lunch money. Other times I would pack my lunch, but I had to have the hamburgers and the fries. So when you get that all done, and I'll come out. I want to come out and see the wall there. That and the Veterans Wall I want to see too. But again, it's really an honor. I mean, it's hard to believe, but I mean, there's a lot of things I've done in radio and stuff, but I've had keys to the city, believe it or not. Yeah, I've had 2 keys to the city. But this one here, I think, takes the cake, and it's great because I went to Anderson. I love Anderson High School. And the Anderson Redskin name, don't get me started. Don't get me started about the Anderson Redskin name, because that's the way it should be. Again, thank you for having me out here. Thank you for having me out here. I really appreciate it, and have a good day the rest of the day, all right? Thank you.
I was waiting to hear some stories about when he set, how many days were you up on the billboard waiting for a Bengal win?
61.
61 days. That's when he really made his mark in Cincinnati.
1991, they were 0-8 until they finally won their game.
Okay, our next honoree is Turpin alumnus Bob Dames. In 1971, Bob moved from New Jersey to Anderson Township, where he and his 4 siblings all graduated from either Anderson or Turpin high schools. Now listen to this. Bob attended Wilson Elementary, Anderson Middle School, Turpin Middle School, Anderson High School, and then Turpin High School when it opened in 1976. At Turpin, Bob played 3 years on the varsity soccer team. After graduation, Bob attended Miami University and earned a degree in political science while playing men's varsity soccer all 4 years. After graduating from Miami in 1983, Bob began a 27-year career in sales, which required frequent overnight travel and eating at the best and worst restaurants across the country. A 2008 diagnosis of Parkinson's disease prompted Bob to set in motion his longtime dream of opening his own restaurant. In 2010, the first Flip Daddy's Burger and Beer opened in Marymount. Its success was followed by 3 more Flip Daddy's restaurants in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. I personally like trivia night over at Flip Daddy's, but anyway. In 2012, Bob and neighbor Paul Lake first collaborated on an event called Chipping Away at Parkinson's to raise both awareness of Parkinson's disease and funds for research. In 6 years, the event has raised over $150,000 for the Michael J. Fox Foundation and UC's Gardner Center. Bob and his wife, Kelly, reside in Claremont County and have 3 adult children, Molly Jeffcott, Michael Dames, and Maggie Dames. Here is Turpin Distinguished Alumnus, Bob Dames.
Hello, I'm Bob Dames, 79 graduate of Turpin High and founder of Flip Daddy's Burgers and Beers. I grew up in Rustic Hills neighborhood in Anderson Township with my 4 siblings. We all went to Forest Hill School. I was fortunate enough to be part of a school system that recognized early the need for additional space to accommodate its burgeoning student population. The newly constructed Turpin High School allowed the district to split its students, giving each of us more opportunities with a smaller school. The best thing that came out of my time in Forest Hills is meeting lifelong friends. My education and experience during my time in Forest Hills certainly contributed to my entrepreneurial spirit. Much appreciation goes to the teachers and coaches who had influential roles in guiding me and my class through my teen years. Soccer was a very important part of my time at Turpin and later at Miami. The game builds character, and I met a lot of characters. Excuse me. This month marks 10 years since my diagnosis with Parkinson's, an anniversary typical not for celebrating, but it changed the course of my life and motivated me to make changes to pursue what I wanted to do for a long time. Parkinson's, over which I have no control, obviously, pushed me to take control of a vision that I could do something about. I chased my dream of becoming a restaurateur, put in place a business plan, researched and developed my own concept, and found a way to make it happen. 8 years and 5 Flip Daddies later, we were opening a new concept in Covington next to Braxton Brewery, Alto Pizza Kitchen and Bar. None of this would be possible without the support, encouragement, and love of my family, friends, and coworkers. I live in a great neighborhood. Several of my neighbors were also unfortunately diagnosed with Parkinson's. The neighborhood came together and decided to have a fundraiser, chipping away at Parkinson's. It's the most fun you can have at a fundraiser. We have an awesome 18-hole wiffle golf course, the best bid and buy, live music, burgers, and beer. To date, we have raised over $158,000. Not bad for a bunch of drunks. My message to all of you is don't wait for a diagnosis to recognize what you want to do. Do what you want to do what you love, and love what you do. Never stop evolving, find a way.
Thank you. Thank you for your work and your courage. Thank you very much for being here. Our next honoree is Anderson alumnus Gary Philbin. Gary graduated from Anderson Senior High School in 1975, which was the last full class before Turpin opened. And I say Anderson Senior High because a lot of people in this room actually know what I'm talking about, but many of you don't. Way back before Turpin, there was Anderson Junior High, which was 7, 8, and 9, and then Anderson Senior High, which was 10, 11, and 12. Anderson Senior High School is when he graduated, 75. And I say that was the last full class because we were talking before, the senior class, when the Turpin was open, they didn't take over to Turpin. They let them graduate from Anderson. So the first full class would have been 1975. The dedication, work ethic, and people skills he learned from his teachers took him from Anderson High School to Miami University to Xavier University for his MBA and into his 30-year career in the retail food industry, starting as a bagger with Kroger in Mount Washington. And today, his position is CEO of Dollar Tree Stores in Chesapeake, Virginia. Gary, his wife Glenda, and daughter Kylie are still active learning today through their travels, through helping others, and as they keep their eyes open for what the next interesting thing to embark upon will be. Gary's work at Dollar Tree Stores includes participation in Operation Homefront, which delivers school supplies and gifts at Christmas to veterans' families. He's also active in Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Let's welcome all the way from Chesapeake, Virginia, Gary Philbin.
Thank you, Randy, and also thank you, Rob. It was a great tour of Anderson this morning. Dee, for coordinating everything. You make it look easy for us. And the school is going to be magnificent. And thank you. I win the prize of the most family members here today, I think, because if the Polivkas come, you win automatically. And then secondly, there's nothing going on in Turpin High School today. So Jack and Anna, you're welcome. And part of this is about education, and one of the newest educators is in the family, Elena Polivka, teaching physics. Looking for a job, Rob? No pressure. But it's really about saying thank you to the team and that taught me at Anderson, and everybody that all of our family members came. We have a couple of dear friends. I think the Craigs may have made it. Rob Craig, Kathy, and John Burton made it all, probably the longest trip here from San Antonio. We'll see if that stands up. So thank you all for coming. I found this a very humbling experience for a couple of reasons. First off, it makes you stop and think, you gotta go back to that 1975 18-year-old brain you had at one point, and then think about what is it that made us connect to where we are today. And Wildman and I had a chance this morning to talk to some of the students at Anderson, and you sit in front of them, and first off, you're humbled because I graduated in 1975. The same age difference for me would have been a graduate coming from 1932. Is that possible? And what was I going to learn from a graduate of 1932? But they treated us very nicely, Wildman, I thought. They were very interested in our stories. And we got a free lunch out of it. But I would say that it was all about relationships, I think, at the end of the day. The passion for what we do in business, the folks that got us along the way. And in my write-up, I mentioned a few of the teachers. Roger Grooms being one, who not only was a great history teacher, but also allowed us to listen to Reds radio baseball when they were in the playoffs and World Series. Thank you, Roger. I also mentioned Gene Harris. Gene Harris passed away this past week. And after a long, rich life, 96 years old, to be celebrated. But in her bio, we always wondered what made Jean tick. And here was a woman, sharp as a tack, always dressed, nothing out of place. And in her bio, we found out that a couple of things. You know, in the comments on her passing, lots of students, toughest teacher I ever had. Best teacher I ever had. Drill sergeant. Well, the mystery is solved, Kathy, and you'll appreciate this. She was a fifth generation Brooklyn person that moved to Cincinnati. Taught for 30 years in Cincinnati, but the way she got there in New York, she started as a charm editor at the magazine, Charm Magazine, did the editing for them, and they asked her to write a story when World War II broke out about this new organization called Waves. She liked the organization so much she joined it and was a lieutenant commander in the Waves by the time she retired from that in World War II. So she wasn't a drill sergeant, she is actually lieutenant commander. And then some of the memories that a few folks teed up, which my 18-year-old brain didn't remember, but you know, you gotta remember Jean, very prim and proper, and she pulled down the screen one time and there was a Playmate centerfold on the screen. And didn't miss a beat and talked about how nudity is art, but not for today, and rolled it back up. And then Chris O'Dell felt sad that she had a lectern that was like a battle tank with wheels, and he glued it to the floor one day, so that as she was trying to go up and down the aisles, she was stymied from the beginning of the class. So I think about a teacher like that, like so many I had. She was a character, but others, that energy, the passion they had for the business certainly made us confident in our education when we went beyond what we did, and the relationships we had, not just with teachers, but all the folks that we met in school. And we moved around quite a bit, but I've had the pleasure of making connections. If you read my bio, I got to swim from Europe to Asia with Kathy Craig Burton. And we think that's a record that's going to stand forever at Anderson High School as a tandem swimming from Europe to Asia in one day. So Kathy, we have that forever. So at the end of the day, with looking into the students' eyes, it wasn't so much about being successful in business or being successful because you're going to go do this or that. I think we would all agree it was being successful with your family, with your relationships, the partnerships you'll develop. Those are the things I remember. And I look at my family here. This is a little bit not just remembering things, but also like a little bit riding your own wake, which I felt uncomfortable with. But to my daughter, who ran academic circles around me in high school and college, this is an award I have and you don't. And I've got to say to my wife in public, thank you, honey. You're the rock of everything that I've done that's been anything good, so thank you for your support. Thank you all.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing about Mrs. Harris. I know I had Mrs. Harris, Roger Grooms, Mrs. Nelkamp, Mr. Schaefer, and I see some people out in the audience actually remember a lot of those people. Absolutely outstanding teachers. And I'm glad you gave some of the background. Now I understand a little bit more about Mrs. Harris. Now that makes a little bit more sense. But anyway, thank you again. Our next honoree is Claudia Anderson. Claudia is a 1984 graduate of Turpin High School. Claudia was active in a number of activities during her time at Turpin. One of her favorite was playing in the Turpin Marching Band, which led her to join the Purdue All-American Marching Band as she pursued a demanding degree in engineering at Purdue University. In addition to her undergraduate bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Purdue, Claudia earned a master's in mechanical engineering from the University of Michigan and a master's in engineering management from the University of Detroit Mercy. Claudia began her career as a design engineer with Ford Motor Company in 1998, earning several patents for her designs before advancing into leadership roles at both Ford and Visteon Corporation. In 2010, she accepted a position as vice president at TE Connectivity, where she currently leads the continuous improvement, quality, and customer experience efforts for this Fortune 500 company. Claudia and her husband currently live in Greensboro, North Carolina, and enjoy travel and time on the lake with their 2 children who are both in college studying engineering. Let's welcome Turpin alumnia Claudia Anderson.
Thank you. So this is a little intimidating because engineers don't normally talk in public. But there is a lot of great things that really started at Turpin and really continued on to Purdue. I, of course, was a band geek, still am a band geek, and that kind of really came home as far as being part of a team and really striving for something that was creative but also a lot of fun. So that led me on to Purdue. But thinking about today, I thought about, okay, what could I possibly have that might be interesting, to talk about today? I really thought about teachers. It gives you an opportunity to reflect, and to reflect on the people that you've learned from throughout the years. And I've had a lot of great teachers in school, at work, and also in my family. My parents are here today, and they're really the inspiration behind so much of what's happened for me. So I'd like to give a shout out. So the teachers that I've liked the most are the ones that, first of all, model the right behaviors. They work hard, they're organized, they have energy that is contagious. You just want to be a part of it. It makes you like the subject, even the most boring subjects. If you have a great teacher, it makes all the difference. And so as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit of an opportunity to become more of a teacher. And I mentor tons of people at my college a little bit, but also really at work. I have a lot of support that I do for women in engineering, women in STEM careers, advancing their opportunities within the company. And it's very humbling because as a teacher, you have to model it, right? You have to bring that energy. You have to constantly encourage, and you have to listen. And so I still, look back to modeling my best teachers and bring that to work every day. And that's what helped me to be successful. So thank you for this honor. It's quite humbling, and I'd like to, thank my sister, my mom and dad, and my husband of 30 years, a Purdue marching band, and also engineer, John, for being with me and supporting me every step of the way. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm also very partial to marching band people, but anyway. Our 2018 Forest Hills staff honoree is Sandra Coleman. Sandra holds a bachelor's degree in English and business education from Lincoln Memorial University and a master's of education degree from Northern Kentucky University. She also completed postmaster's work in counseling at Xavier University and Wright State University. For 30 years, she lived her passion, teaching English, expository writing, and business at Anderson High School, where she encouraged students to dream, to set goals, and to always remember who you are. During her long tenure at Anderson, Sandra was honored with many, many awards, including Favorite Female Teacher by the student body multiple times. A sample of her awards are listed in your program. In the 10 years that followed her teaching career, Sandra continued her professional life, consulting in the private and public sectors as a communications consultant and college advisor. Sandra formed her own company, Coleman Consultants, where she designed programs for local businesses and industries to improve the soft skills of their office employees. Sandra currently serves on the Anderson Township Tree Committee and the Forest Hills Foundation for Education Teacher Grant Committee. Let's welcome our 2018 Distinguished Staff Member, Sandra Coleman.
you to the Forest Hills Education Foundation for this fantastic honor. Let me take you back to 1972. Anderson High School was packed to the rafters. Only one public high school in the district. Chris Steffen was the principal, with 4 assistant principals working the building. And yes, we were the Anderson Redskins. Like many who entered the workforce out of college with a BS degree and a double major in English, later I returned to get my master's. Anderson needed business teachers, teaching typing, shorthand, note-taking, which was shorthand with added strategies. That's how I began my first year. Later on, I went on, notice I'm a little nervous standing up here right now. Later on, I began teaching English, business management, and some of the fun courses that someone sitting at this table enjoyed. And they were quite the group, let me tell you. When I started with my 9th graders, I always started with respect, responsibility, and manners. And tried to carry that all the way through. And it worked for most of them. I'm looking at it. Most of them handled it well. Some of them we had to go over it a few times. Luckily, Mr. Hall, we didn't have to send too many to the office, did I? Not too many. I think he talked to a few out there in the hall a few minutes ago. Seriously, we had a great time. We enjoyed each other, and I handled most of them all the time. We also had some drills we had to do. Earthquake drills, if I remember. My class got a big kick out of those. Fire drills, we had those down really well. The tornado drill, we had some problems with because I was a little afraid of those. So I would say, now, Susie is going to handle this side of the room, and Joey is going to handle this side of the room. And they would look at me like, what is she talking about? So then, they all had what they were going to do, and all at once, Steffi said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, is that a problem? And Steffi said, yeah, I want to know what you're going to do. And I said, well, I told you, everybody's going to follow Susie on one side and Joey on the other. And we know what you're supposed to do. I said, look, we're going to practice it now. Joey's going to take his, Susie's going to take hers. Everybody follow. Well, Steffi was going to stand there with me to see what I was going to do. I was going to get in the closet. Because I was afraid of that earthquake. Or the tornado. I was going to get in the closet. She said, that's not fair, Mrs. Coleman. You're leaving your post. So, anyway, I said, I am just kidding. Mr. Hall would have a heart attack. So I went out and did my duty the way it was supposed to be done. So every now and then I was a little prankster with them. We got through that. Our drills went well. I remember Mike Penwell could not make it today. I remember scaring Mike Penwell one time also. he was the athletic director, and I had cheerleaders. He did not know that I was going to use his office for a few minutes. He was not in there, and I took one of my cheerleaders in, and we were going to try on a uniform in his bathroom. So we finished, and we were starting to walk out, and he was coming in. He said, "What are you doing in here?" I said, "Well, my cheerleader had to try on a uniform." And he looked at me like, and I said, "We're leaving now. You know, we're finished. Thank you." And he thought, "Well, what in the world did she do? You know, we just walked on out." I said, "Thank you." And after that, I don't know if he talked to Mr. Hall or not, but now we're best friends. He was supposed to be sitting here at this table today, but his wife had an emergency. But then you would have thought that I had really done something horrible because I had gone into his office. It was open. I didn't unlock anything. But he did not like that I had done that. The other thing is, during part of our season, or part of my stint with cheerleading, we did not have the best football team. We played Division I, and we drove the cheerleaders to the ball games. Took 2 cars. They did not ride the pet bus at the time. But you can imagine Division I, we were everybody's homecoming. No matter what part of the season it was, we were their homecoming. It was a long ride home. Anyway, we got through those seasons, and we eventually had Turpin built, and we were no longer Division I. Moving on, we had successes with, I call successes with our freshmen. We had successes with the homeroom program. We had successes with the drug program. We had lots of different things that we did along the way. And the Senior Life Skills Day, we did lots of different activities and fun things. And now I would like for all of my former students to stand up. These are my babies. And I called them my babies. So they know how special they are to me. I love them dearly, and in class, I always called them my babies, didn't I? So they are very dear to me, and that's why I'm here today. Thank you.
I wish I could have stood up, but I left the year before you got there. So anyway, thank you again. And I especially want to thank, whether you came from near or far, everybody who showed up today, and all of our honorees who traveled in, a couple from some pretty good distances. This time, it's my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of the Forest Hills Foundation for Education, Dee Stone, who will facilitate the presentation of the awards. First person we're going to present is Dennis Wildman Walker.
We will get you a picture. There's a picture that we will get you. that
Okay,
goes in.
all right, great, thank you.
So we took the group picture today.
All right, what picture will it be? Will it be the,
It'll be the up and down.
okay, I hope you got my good side. Yeah,
I think it ought to be the picture you up on the billboard, personally.
I
But
got some of them. I look like Jim Morrison. Those are rough.
next, Bob Dames. Next, Gary Philbin. Claudia Anderson. And last but certainly not least, Sandra Coleman.
Thank you all. That's the end of our program for today, but I do want to thank Jenny Gavin for doing all the centerpieces. And actually, I need to give credit where credit was due. She did Wildman Walker's bio. I did not. So I want all the credit to go to Jenny. So anyway, thank you all for coming. You know, the foundation, for those of you who don't know, in the back of the program lists all their programs that we do. Teacher grants, AT, SAT prep classes, after NAGO after school tutoring program, and the buses home. And then this year we're supporting robotics, which that's also in the program. We're trying to, the school district has adopted Project Lead the Way, and we're trying to fund all those robots kits. So if anybody's interested in helping us with that, we'd appreciate it. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you next year. Oh, and if you have anyone you want to nominate for next year, let me know. You can be up here next year. Thank you.